I'm gonna have you guys come up here in just a couple minutes. Yep.
My shoulder's back. Take as many as you need, Sharon, thank you so much. That's the This picture. I'm Carol Wilson. My East Coast girl. You know, I'm a maniac. I'm a Mainer. A Mainer, that's right. That's right.
All right. Right here. We're not close enough. Yep. It's just in it. There we go. There we go. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mary. All right. Susan, we'll put you right here. Or, yeah, we'll put you right here. Oops, stay right there. And Warren right there, that's fine. We'll have you just stand on the hand side, yep. And then you right there, Mary, that's great. All right, guys, for about 60 seconds out, okay?
Okay, 60 seconds to action.
Here? Lovely. I love them.
How fast can you run?
Sure. Right from Article 1.
And just taking a picture. Run and get
Powerful lines and
send whatever you take.
official political literature.
We have Ron in the picture.
Probably prefer a little closer to 3, maybe 5.
All right, everyone. We're going to fly down. We're going to get started. All right, thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael Segrist. I am the clerk in Canton Township. This is my first press release. Should I hold the mic? These are like... Okay, we're going to try that again. You probably won't be able to hear me, but what I'm going to say is going to be great. I assure you. I assure you. Okay, we'll try that again. My name is Michael Segrist. I am the clerk in Canton Township. It is an honor to be here. This is my first press conference as well, so please be charitable with me as I go forward. But as a clerk who participated in the 2020 election, I am truly honored, and I am proud of the record turnout and the transparency in Michigan's election process. A comprehensive audit of Michigan's election found that allegations of fraud were false. It assured clerks, voters, and people across the state that our election was truly secure, truly fair, and truly a success. Local clerks, election officials, and literally hundreds of audits and reviews, hand recounts, have made it abundantly clear that Michigan's election was safe, secure, and accurate. Yet on the heels of this highly successful election, we have seen a new wave of attacks on the freedom to vote in Michigan. The tools clerks have used to ensure seniors can cast their vote safely and securely are being undermined and attacked. Michigan seniors stand to lose out if these anti-voter bills pass. The bills include a ban on prepaid postage stamps for absentee ballots. That creates an unnecessary inconvenience and additional cause for confusion. It transfers the cost from the municipality to the senior who has already paid their fair share. The anti-voter bills include additional unnecessary voter photo ID requirements that will invite identity theft and fraudsters to target seniors simply trying to perform their civic duty. The anti-voter bills will restrict the hours senior citizens can deliver their ballots to drop boxes, making it more difficult to vote. Further, the proposed legislation would eliminate the ability to use an affidavit in place of an ID. That's right, Michigan already has a photo ID requirement. This new regulation is just more cumbersome. As people get older and stop driving, many live their lives without ID. Seniors are a critical pillar of our voting electorate. They vote consistently and they consistently vote absentee. More than 1.2 million people over the age of 65 in Michigan cast their ballot this last November. They may not all agree on party or politics, but they don't have to. They tend to agree that voting is important. In fact, they would agree it is a duty. We should be looking for ways to remove barriers for seniors who want to perform their duty. As a clerk, I want to build off the success of the 2020 election, not go backwards. Public policy should encourage higher voter turnout among elderly residents, not suppress it. I want more people to be able to exercise their democratic right to cast a ballot, not fewer. And that's why these bills should be rejected by the legislature. I urge the members of the House and Senate to sit with the county and municipal clerk who administer our and have a collaborative conversation as partners about how to strengthen it. Lord knows we have tried, and Lord knows we are willing to do that. Thank you. I will now pass the podium to Ms. Anderson.
Hello, everybody in the press, and thank you all for coming out to acknowledge the behavior of our legislators. I'm Susan Anderson, and I am representing a group called Blue Brigade, and many of us are senior citizens. Anything that restricts our ability to vote is unacceptable.
Unacceptable.
We have been voting absentee for years. Don't get in our way. Don't hamper our efforts. We have one message for the legislature. Stop trying to suppress our vote. Let me hear you say it. Say it. Stop trying to suppress our vote. Thank you very much. And now Mary Brown from Voters Not Politicians will take over the mantle.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Mary Brown. I am a resident of rural Ingham County. I am also a proud volunteer of Voters Not Politicians. VNP is a nonpartisan organization that is voter-led with a goal to strengthen our democracy. We have thousands of engaged volunteers, and I am proud to speak on their behalf this afternoon. The Senate Election Committee is advancing 3 bills to the full Senate for a vote this week. Let me tell you how those 3 bills will impact me and my neighbors. Senate Bill 285 requires a photo ID. Senate Bills 303 and 304 forces a specific type of ID to vote in person and forces a provisional ballot. And I'd like to have you note that in 2020, some 11,000 voters used that provisional ballot. In our rural township, those voters will have already proven to their clerk that they are known. They know us. Michigan, the entire state, already has voter ID requirements. These bills add additional unnecessary barriers. These barriers will affect seniors, students, and people of color. Sending an ID through the mail significantly increases the possibility of identity theft. And a quick look at an ACLU website last night says that some of these people are still dealing with identity theft from the 1990s. Some 3.3 million voters voted by absentee. Senate Bill 285 requires an absentee ballot have an included photo ID, and according to this bill, that ballot must have a copy of the ID attached in order to be a valid vote. In 2020, that would have been 3.3 million potential identity thefts. 67% of Michigan voters voted for the right to vote by absentee ballot in 2018, and clearly they took advantage of that option in 2020. Senate Bill 303 forces voters to have a specific type of ID to vote in person, and without that specific ID, the voter must cast a provisional ballot. And then 304 makes the voter provide more proof of their identity. That's yet another hurdle for those voters. The Senate Election Committee has been using a phrase, make it easier to vote but harder to cheat. Michigan has already several laws that make it harder to cheat. The Brennan Center reports that voter fraud is almost as common as being hit by lightning. If you like numbers, and I like numbers, I believe that value is 0.0027% nationwide. You notice where the decimal is? It's less than 1. So these senators are addressing a problem that doesn't exist. If they had, I think they have lost the second half of their phrase. They have just emphasized one piece. They've lost the part of making it easier to vote. Senate Bill 285, 303, and 304 will make it harder for our citizens to vote, my neighbors to vote, your neighbors to vote. So please join my colleagues in Voters Not Politicians by opposing these bills. It's 2021, and we still do not want politicians choosing their voters. So thank you this afternoon. And it is my pleasure to introduce Warren Danford. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Warren Danford. I am representing the Michigan Alliance for Retired Americans. Many of our senior members view the right to vote as sacred, as an expression of freedom, and we have a responsibility and a duty to vote regardless of our political party. The rights of Michigan seniors voters need to be respected and their voices heard to preserve the integrity of our democracy. Michigan Republicans are attempting to silence the voice of senior voters with a series of anti-voter bills. Around 40 of these anti-voter bills have been introduced this year. They're pushing lies, misinformation around the integrity of our elections, and that's hurting all of us. Local clerks and election officials have made it clear Michigan's election was safe, secure, and accurate. Most concerning are the changes being proposed to early voting and absentee voting many of our seniors depend on, such as severely limiting the number of hours to vote, forcing absentee voters to pay for their postage, and instituting new ID requirements. These regressive changes would make it far more difficult for seniors to vote. They should be making it easier for our seniors to vote, not more difficult. In reality, our elected officials should be working to solve the problems facing Michigan seniors, like expanding health care, lowering prescription drug prices. Instead, Michigan Republicans are attacking our voting rights, spreading misinformation and lies, intending to divide us. Creating barriers to voting, as Michigan Republican legislators have proposed, simply isn't right to move our state forward, and it's definitely wrong move for our seniors. Thank you, and now I'll pass to Ramita Hicks Montgomery of Detroit Action.
Good afternoon. My name is Ramita Hicks Montgomery, and though I'm here today representing Detroit Action, I am also representing the city of Detroit as a concerned community member, voter, and social worker. All of which caused me to speak against any harm or injustice that vulnerable communities face. We've heard here today about how seniors will be impacted by these voter suppression bills. Today, I'm also here to talk about the significant harm that will be caused to people in my community if these bills are passed. To require a state ID to vote is a direct attack on our democracy. Not only does it create an unnecessary barrier for people to vote, it downright dismisses the difficulty in obtaining an ID in the first place. As the Service and Mutual Aid Director for Detroit Action, one of the programs and initiatives that I lead is a community care workshop that actually provides access to IDs and birth records. This is mostly for folks who experience homelessness, but it can be for anyone who's having a hardship or just really doesn't know where to go or what to do. And the reason that we have to do this is not just because it sounds nice, it's because it is a need in our community. Folks need their ID and birth record, but don't know where to start, and they don't know how to move forward in getting that started. Just yesterday, we had a guy come in. So we do IDs, birth records, but everybody who comes in is not from the city of Detroit. The guy is almost 65 years old. He was born in a small city called Killeen in Texas. When we attempted to process the birth record application for him, what we found is once we actually found the right application to complete for him, he actually needed to go to a notary in order to have that application certified, which costs more money. If you don't have access to a bank, like many of the folks we serve do not, the notary service is an extra fee. All of this is just to request the record. We haven't even sent off for it yet. So once we request it, send off for it, put the money in to pay for it, Texas still has to receive it, they still have to process it, and then they have to send it back. And that's just not right. I'm here today to speak for the people that I serve and stand in solidarity with, the people who are often overlooked. People who are experiencing homelessness who have limited access to their documentation are still citizens, and their voices should still be heard.
That's right. Yes.
People living in poverty who may not have the money to pay for their ID or the documents that are required to just get an ID, they still deserve to choose who represents them.
That's right.
And our seniors, many of them who fought for the very rights that these bills will strip away, who've been here through it all, should not have to go through the hoops and the barriers to do what many of them look to as their civic duty. Silencing these voices, plain and simple, ain't right. Thank you. Passing the mic back to Clerk Seacrest.
All right, so where we're at in the process right now is entertain questions, and I will provide answers. Are there any questions? Thank you. Yeah, okay. Oh. So, what do we want them to take away from seeing all of the participation here today? Well, I think one is how serious seniors take the right to vote, how serious election administrators take the right to vote and the process, and how we really should not be playing partisan and political games with the process. This process needs to be above those ends. And so I think that's why we're here today. And policy should be designed, with relevance to the voters, as a service to the voters, because again, everybody in that building is only there because somebody voted for them, and they're only there because the residents of Michigan chose to tax themselves to create a government to do things for themselves that they could not do individually. So they're there to serve us, not the other way around. Okay.
What's the best way to get to the politicians on the Republican side to talk to them and tell them that we represent the people of the state, not support what they're doing?
Okay, so the question was, what's the best way to get to the individuals who are supporting this legislation? I said, one is talk directly to your individual representative. Talk to your election officials, right? If you live in a city or a township, you have a local clerk. We have the Michigan Association of Municipal Clerks. We are attempting to work with the legislature as best as possible to protect the overall system from some of this legislation. So talk to your local elected officials, encourage them to reach out to the legislators as a subject matter expert. Reach out to your individual legislator as well. Okay?
Any other questions?
What are the next steps for groups in these bills?
So what are the next steps for groups? So that's really outside of the scope of kind of my role as an election administrator. I can assure you, so if they make it their way out of committee, I assume by this time they have. I haven't checked Twitter yet. They would then have to go to the floor. So that's going to be the speaker. Speaker of the House is going to be the individual who's going to be responsible for making that determination. That's where I would essentially start putting my pressure on, or having my legislators start putting some pressure on as well, to make sure that something that is not worthy of the House or the Senate floor doesn't make its way there, because they have that privilege. And then reaching out to the governor as well to make sure that she makes the right choice in exercising her veto. And then I would encourage the legislature, because I've heard whispers of their intent to circumvent the governor, which is really unfortunate, very unfortunate, to not give the voters the ability to have oversight over this legislation. That would be a tragedy. It would be a tragedy to see a constitutional loophole being used to circumvent constitutional rights granted under Proposal 18.3. That would be absolutely terrifying to see happen. So I would urge them not to do that if the governor does indeed veto this legislation.
Is there clerks have an organization, or is it an organization
So we have a professional organization that is pretty solely interested in conducting elections. If you're looking for direct action, there's plenty of groups up here today that are doing a lot of work. Before you leave, I would talk to one of them. I would talk to somebody in the audience behind me. You're welcome.
All right, now we'll do one-on-one questions. All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you for all coming.
So where do I get one of those t-shirts?
Oh gosh, I got this in 2018. At an MBA.
Bless your heart.
Oh, thank you.
I'm a lobbyist for schools.
Oh, okay. Nice to meet you.